Days. Welcome to Mary Wieden and You. So glad to have you along. If you read the promo, I did put the wrong date on there, but it's about the city and it's about the state. And I've got the city represented here today with Ashby Foote. He is Jackson City Councilman, Ward 1. And things are happening in the city of Jackson, aren't they? Welcome. I hope you had a good weekend. Yeah.
Sure are.
Anything new on other indictments or anything like that you can pass along?
I haven't heard anything new. We're in sort of just waiting for what comes next. We're not really sure.
Well, I've read that there was a meeting with the alleged developers, and you said there was something about it that you just kind of basically walked out of it, right? You're not satisfied.
I didn't leave until it was over with. We met up at the Capitol City Club on top of the Capitol Towers, and it was at the lunch place up there on the 19th floor. At the invitation of the
alleged developers.
The district attorney and his scheduler had called me, and it was on February 29th. We met up there, and it was about economic development was the topic. And so I was glad to meet with the DA because I wanted to go over some of the maps I had about abandoned properties across the city, which is a big issue right now.
Yes, it is. Hello, Hotel O.
But we can talk about Hotel O. But anyway, it was a regular lunch meeting. I was, they weren't. There was no formal presentation, which is kind of unusual to come in from out of town and not have. They didn't give me a business cards or no brochures. They were looking to, just talk in generalities about making investments. And we went over to the window and looked down at the properties. You can see the convention center and the empty properties around the convention center. But they didn't, other than just sort of a general conversation, they asked me, how does Jackson work, which was kind of an oddball question, but the conversation didn't really go anywhere.
Wow. Well, no business cards, no pamphlets, no nothing.
It never, in my wildest dreams, I imagined that they were undercover.
Yeah, really.
But now looking back, I think that's why they were probably undercover, and it wasn't what I would consider a sophisticated presentation or sales presentation that you would normally expect to have.
Do you consider this whole thing a black eye on the city or something good?
Well, it has the potential to. I think everything needs to be shaken up every so often just to regain our focus. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's a big cloud hanging over the city and city government. And I think our primary focus at the city needs to be on restoring confidence in city government, both with the citizens primarily, but also with the other stakeholders, the state government, the federal government. We've gone through a period where the federal government's had to come in with $600 million to try to straighten out the sewer and the water system, and also the sewer systems in part of that program now. So we need to do our best to impress the folks at the federal level, at the state level, and the citizens that live in Jackson and the surrounding communities that we're serious about getting things straightened out and doing a more professional job of managing the city for and serving the citizens of Jackson and the surrounding communities.
I said this to the audience. We had Councilman Stokes on here a few weeks ago, and he was naming names. He named he feels that the mayor is about to go, the DA, and Councilman Banks. But so that story was reprinted twice on Nextdoor, and so which I read, and one of them had like 60 comments, and I think 99.999% of those were very positive for Jackson, and I was very happy to see that. Instead of taking the attitude of, well, there's Jackson, look at him going down the tubes, they weren't like that at all. They were like, most people were like, grew up in Jackson or grew up near Jackson, and I hate that this is happening. However, if it will help, and we have to help Jackson maintain itself, it's our capital city. And I thought, well, wow, that's really good. You do have those support. Of course, who those people are, I don't know, or anything like that, but I thought that was very good thinking. I hope you've heard some of that, whether it's not just from that interview, but just hope you hear that from people. Hey, we don't want you to fail.
I think that's probably the silver lining around the cloud that's over, setting over Jackson right now, is the fact that it gives people hope for some significant change that can hopefully be positive for the citizens and the community at large?
Well, there's an election in less than a month now on October 1 to replace Angelique Lee. There's only one person that I know of. I think her name is Celestine or something, Celestial, I think is her name. I saw her yesterday on Channel 3. And I don't know how many others are. But it comes with good people running for these offices. And now is the time to think about, not just because you got elections in next year. And look at this, it's already September. And so people have to start thinking, you're going to run, by the way?
Not in Ward 2. No.
But I'm going to stay where you are. But what I'm saying is,
my intention is to run again for council.
Yeah, I can run for mayor. Okay. Yeah. So, but people need to start thinking about who would I like to see in these seats, and who would I like to see as the mayor, because you got to get your stuff together. The last thing in the world you want to do is 2 weeks before the election go, oh well, gee, I wonder who's running. It's way too late. I
agree. I think that there's a lot of people out there in Ward 2 that are looking for good candidates that they can support. I think the deadline is September 11th.
Yes.
For entering that race, and I would hope there'd be 4 or 5 people that would put their names in the hat.
Sure. Have you heard anybody possibly for mayor yet?
There are some number of people out there talking about running for mayor. Some have started their campaigns, and so I wish them all the best of luck. I think that's the voters are well served by energetic candidates who can attract funding to run high level campaigns and reach out to the citizens and get to know them, and they can get to know them, the candidates.
There are 2 candidates so far in Ward 2. Tina Clay, she has qualified to run for Ward 2, and then the one I was telling you about, whose first name is Celestial. Celestial Gordon Griffin. I'll spit it out properly.
Okay.
And she's going to run. So you have 2 at least running for there. But take that into consideration. You also have got budget discussions, right? And you got to have a new budget in here in a couple weeks, right?
Oh yeah, we've got to finish the budget, and we've got a finance committee meeting that starts at 10 a.m. this morning to go over those discussions.
Which is why you'll be running out of here.
So I got to leave in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Have you got? Would you say there's enough money in the city to pay the bills and pay some raises? You got police want more money, of course,
sure,
and more people. And I think the chief is doing really a good job, Chief.
I really like Chief Wade.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and his heart's in the right place, and and the firefighters are saying, well, we want raises too, but is it there? Is the money there without having to do tax increases? Oh
yeah, I'm pretty confident the money's there. Now, one of the reasons we've got some money here at the end of the year is that a lot of the departments have lost a lot of mid-level management. For Public Works is probably the best, or maybe the worst example of where we don't have a public works director. We've lost all our engineers. Have gone on to either retired or going to work elsewhere. So we haven't spent all the salary money that we had set aside back a year ago when we did the budget for the year 2024, this year that's about to end in a month. And so there is some money that's due because we didn't spend the money on salaries because we lost personnel. We've got to turn that around where people are excited and want to come to work for the city of Jackson. And we lost a lot of institutional knowledge, particularly in the Public Works Department, where all the engineers left. That's bad. That's not good.
No.
And we've got to do better than that. But so the money, we've always could use more money, and we'd love to give pay raises to everybody, especially the police and possibly the fire department. But the main thing is to attract qualified professional people in the mid-level management jobs and department heads, and we just had too much turnover in there that it's hard to keep programs going and focused when you're losing your management team and having somebody new come in and that may not know where all the skeletons are, or all the the good things that we can take advantage of. So,
where do you look for your people? Just inside Mississippi, or do you look out? And where do you look? I mean,
I'm not an expert on the HR part of human resources, but they do searches but it's challenge. Sometimes people come in and they don't want to work here. We had one public works director that looked to be very qualified, been in the Navy for 20 years. He came here, went to work for us, and then for 2 weeks left. Yeah. And then about 2 weeks later, he came back and then quit again after a week. So there's a work environment that was discouraging to him. We've got to have a better work environment where professionals can do their thing and be rewarded for it and feel fulfilled in their work that they're doing for the city of Jackson.
There's got to be a lot of publicity, good publicity. There's got to be a good outreach. Speaking of positive things about Jackson, there are positive things.
Right.
But there's a lot of negatives too. But there are some positive things about Jackson. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be in any way need to be done anyway. But then, particularly when you're attracting people, is it necessary when you work for the city to live in the city?
You're supposed to. Well, obviously, if you get elected, to be elected, you have to live in the ward you're running for. But you can work for the city and not necessarily live in the city.
Okay.
Obviously, we'd like people to live here. We've got plenty of areas that need more population, and that we've got to get the abandoned properties under control. We got to get crime under control. But that's something that's doable. We just got to apply ourselves to that.
I was impressed that Chief Wade talked about having a more than 74% clearance rate on crimes. Now he said, I don't do the judges or anything like that, but we solve these cases, and 74% is excellent. The national stat is like 50% or something like that, 53. But that's a very good thing for Jackson. And people are like, well, ho hum, but no, that is a good thing. That's a very good thing to know. And speaking of abandoned properties, I was looking the other day at Hotel O and hearing the sob story about it. For God's sakes, what in the world does it take? There was that beautiful building that on Briarwood. It was a beautiful exterior building. It was a dump on the inside, but it looked pretty. But this Hotel O.
That's the poster child for dilapidated property and abandoned property. It's really heartbreaking to go up there and see that, and just the residue of old mattresses and broken stuff and glass and all the other things that where squatters have come in and just tried to live in it, and it's very dangerous to them. It's dangerous to the rest of the community, and it gives a bad impression.
Terrible. Right there on 20.
I'm hoping that we can. There's a lot of people that stepped up to try to help in doing this. We had the Judge Reynolds, who ruled on it. We had a recalcitrant owner who was doing everything. He wanted to get paid $1 million for it, which is really insult.
No, the other way around. He needs to pay the city.
I agree. So, but I'm hoping that we can get that thing torn down. It would be a big reason for a gift of hope to the citizens to see it getting torn down, because it needs to be torn down. It's an eyesore, and it's a real blemish on the city of Jackson.
I wonder what at what point does it come to where the city finally has enough things have been done legally. Of course, we're not lawyers, we don't know. Enough has come to where even if this guy wants to fight, you just say, look, we're just going to take it down. We don't have to have that. We don't have to have that from you, sir, or anybody else.
Well, just you got to make sure it's legally that you're sufficient in doing it. And I think Frank Milton got in trouble for tearing some stuff down.
Yeah, he tore down half of a crack house or something. Yeah.
Right. So, but I think we're about 98% there on the Hotel O, and it'll probably cost $100,000 or more to tear it down. But it's something that needs to be done, and I think that would be a good investment of $100,000 if we get it torn down, just for what it does for people's morale, that we're taking action.
And I wonder if there are people in the city working on what could be done. Tear it down and I will build something. I'm sure there's some department that's doing an outreach like that kind of stuff.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be the city. There are investors out there that want to, think that Jackson's got some opportunity, that that there's some investment opportunity here, and some of them have called me, some of them have called other council members, and they're anxious to be part of the revitalization of Jackson, and so we've got to set the stage for that and embrace the investors and work with them to make it happen.
Well, if Detroit can do a comeback, and I don't know the details of it, but I just keep hearing, and I'm originally from Detroit, and I haven't been there in years. So it's like, who wants to go there? But they're coming back. I don't know what they're doing or how they're doing it, but that's a good thing. And if they can do it on a much larger scale, so can Jackson, Mississippi, because everybody says, well, this was such a good little city. Well, then get good again. It can be done.
Right.
It can be done.
It's going to take some funding that the city needs, but there are people out there, if that's one of the reasons we have to redevelop or purpose, not that, we have to create trust in the city government at the state level, federal level, and in the local community. And that will really help facilitate reinventing Jackson.
Absolutely. And no, I was surprised after all these years. I just don't have occasion to go downtown. Although somebody was telling me the other day, I guess it was just yesterday, she said, Mary, they've taken down all those trees on Capitol Street. It looks beautiful. She said, it's beautiful now down there. You can see the building. She said, the architecture is perfectly beautiful. And you can see all that stuff. You don't get cluttered with the trees and everything.
Jackson does have great bones. I mean, if you go up, if you're high enough up and look down, there's just so many great buildings, the Capitol building, the old Capitol, the new Capitol, the new museums that are built. There's lots of great things down there that to work with. And it's amazing that nobody has put a parking lot, at least across from the complex. What am I thinking? Well, there are. That's the parking for the convention center. It leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah, but how come nobody ever did that? That's a good question. When it was being built, didn't anybody say, "Well, what about parking?" I know it's really embarrassing that we've got these broken concrete lots to park on. Is the building doing all right though? Is it doing okay? I think it's doing okay. It doesn't get as much use as it should. Yeah, well, that's another whole division. That's tourism and all that kind of stuff. Hey, you know what? Guess what? Ashby Foote, it's time for you to go. Thanks so much, Mary. I appreciate you. Go for your budget hearing and all. And good luck. Well, thanks so much, and hang in there and stay tuned. There's, more to come. I guess more news to come. Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll be back with Douglas Carswell just a couple minutes.